Whoa, we're back for some Bleach Soul Resonance, and we're going to be doing a few things. First of all, first and foremost, without any sort of delay, Jade check. Jade check, I'm checking your Jade. How much Jade you got? I've got 26,154. Of course, I remind everyone that I do pay for the $5 a month subscription. This is my way of being able to always sort of generate B0 characters so that I can upkeep, you know, the free-to-play showcases and the like, but even without it, even without 3,000 Jade here, you could put me comfortably at 23,154 Jade, which is a good amount. A good amount. So, how much Jade you got? How many tickets you got? You can see I have 11 out of 80 pulls on Ulquieta. I did take the tickets that I've just gotten free to play, some combination of the exchange rewards down here, and some amount of the monthly reset rewards, as well as just the rewards we get for playing the game, for logging in daily, which are right here, right? So I did take those. I went for B1. Maybe I got lucky. Maybe I didn't. I did not. So that'll just be 11 extra tickets fed to True Shikai Ichigo when he releases. I did not do the same with the weapon because, you know, his weapon is good, but I'd rather just go for True Shikai Ichigo at that point. But yeah, how much Jade you got? How much tickets you sitting on? You know, this is a... I'm stopping you in your tracks. Stop sign. Where did you go with your Jade this season? Did you go for an extra copy of White Ichigo? Are you hurting a little bit? Did you just scrape by getting Ulquieta? Did you get B1 Ulquieta? Etc. etc. I think all in all, this has been a really good celebration, like a really good run of 3 characters. So leaving this celebration, we have 1 boundary on Gorimjo, which I think is pretty necessary to the character's kit. We have 0 boundaries on White Ichigo, primarily because I don't think he needs it at all. This character is so good. Man, I love this character. This character is insanely strong. And 0 boundaries on Ulquieta again. I don't think this character needs buffs at all. I think this character needs a better tactics character to, you know, hang around with him. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, tell me how your summons went. Tell me how your planning went, because we are now 5 days, 5 of them things away from True Shikai Ichigo. You might be seeing 7 down here, but remember that he is releasing on his birthday. True Shikai Ichigo is releasing on his birthday, the 15th. So we will be getting him earlier than you'd think, really, because we're going to overlap 2 days with Ulquieta's banner, which is cool. It's cool. This is going to be our first time running over, like overlapping on a banner with another like active character. So you'll basically, and this is like a really good thing, you'll basically be able to see if you even want True Shikai Ichigo. And I know it's like a weird thing to say, but some people, they might not even be a fan. They might want to grab an extra dupe of Ulquieta. Ulquieta might be your favorite character. And if he's your favorite character, you might want boundaries in him. And this Jade you would have used for those first 2 days summoning on Bankai Ichigo, you might just put in Ulquieta. And if you don't hit the boundaries on Ulquieta, you could just put him into Shikai Ichigo right after. So insanely good timing, actually. I wish they did this more, because it would allow you to continue to pull on previous characters and then put that pity towards the next character, just in case you don't hit. But let's move on to the next thing. So, information about the upcoming TYBW collab, character predictions. This thread is to gather information on the collab for people and as a place to keep all speculation on the upcoming characters from the 1,000-Year Blood War. We are getting a lot of prediction threads about the upcoming characters, so let's try and keep all the speculation in here now on, and from now on. What we know, these are the sort of confirmed things, right? The soft confirmed things at the very least. 4 total. 4 of them things. 4 of them things coming as part of a special collab. The first one coming July 15th is True Shikai Ichigo, of course, that's Assault. The second one coming is Volstandig Yuryu. We do not know his typings, though we have speculated quite a bit that he will probably be Spirit Tactics. The reason he will not be Thrust is because they have said themselves that they are going to avoid at any cost releasing the same typing in a row. This is to sort of soften the blow that we've gotten from the release of Thrust characters. Thrust characters probably are the reason we're getting this, because the Thrust team was so overwhelming at the very start of the game. It wasn't even close. So, though I will say this is a special event, so do not be surprised if Yuryu ends up being Thrust and they break their own rules, because this is a collaborative special event. This could be a one-time thing. There's a 2-day overlap between Ulquiorra and the TYBW banner. This means you can presumably use the limited stamp generator and Trial of Void to create TYBW Ichigo stamps. Would be interesting. Hold on to your stamp generation, your main stat selectors, if you would. There's not really any reason to build them now when you could possibly get good Ichigo gear. Info from leakers. The 2 characters after Ichigo and Yuryu will be 2 women. Bankai Rukia will not be one of the 2 characters, which has been my say-so the entire time. They are described as less hyped than Bankai Rukia, but important characters. That is the info from the most reliable leaker, Ryarg. If you choose to believe it or not is up to you. Choose to believe what you want. I don't care. You shouldn't care that much either. Just believe what you want. When it comes to leaks, listen, man, because people get like really uptight about like leak discussion. Here's how I feel about it. It's just me personally. I would prefer that everything was official. I would not even just in Bleach Soul Resonance. I would prefer it always in fighting games. If you don't know, I'm a big fighting game fan. I've been playing fighting games for decades. I would prefer that in fighting games. I would prefer that in, you know, Dokkan Battle. I'd prefer that in everything. I really don't care about chasing leaks. But when the game like Bleach Soul Resonance is being sort of hampered by Shueisha and they can't do anything, so we have to rely on leaks to like have these discussions, it becomes is what it is, right? So that is my personal opinion. That's why like when leaks come out and maybe they aren't what I like or they aren't this or that, I go, I don't care. Like whatever. Like, you know, we'll see at some point, we'll see, right? We'll see. So next beyond that though is getting an LA must. We're gonna switch back into some TYBW talk after this, but I do want to talk about this Nell thing and combine sort of points here. Imagine she's getting rerun with True Shikai Ichigo. Is she really a must summon because she's a tactic, but she takes a lot of time on field and Tozen doesn't stay on field that much? So what's your opinion? I did make a video on this, but I do want to recap. Please work my capture. My capture! Let's go! I did make a video on this talking about character pairings. We are sort of in the down season of Bleach Soul Resonance hype. That's usually what happens in the 3rd week. The videos get a few less 100 views and so on and so forth. Usually when it's hype, you know, we're getting 1,000, we're raking it in, you know, everyone's, you know, showing up. But I don't blame people for not watching when we're just waiting for the next character to drop. But that's when I usually make my talking head videos about how I'm feeling about the game. One of those reasons that I make these videos talking about how I'm feeling about the game is so I can prepare people for the upcoming banners. Now, I do not claim to be the most knowledgeable person when it comes to Bleach Soul Resonance. You follow whoever you think is right. But I will say that I think I'm kind of cooking when I talk about pairings. So right now, we have a few good pairings. And I'm just going to recap this real quick and we'll move on to the next point because I did make a video talking about this. It was the video yesterday. We have a few good pairings. Nelliel and Gin are one of the best pairings in the entire game. Pairings. Not the best character, the best pairings. I would say that Ichigo, White Ichigo, and Kenpachi, easily one of the best pairings in the game, right? I would say that in the case of White Ichigo, he is simply one of the best characters in the game. Soifon and Grimjo, incredible pairing. Completely made for each other. Arguably the best pairing in the game right now. They work so fluidly. Only really matched to me in their synergy by characters like Kenpachi and Ichigo, who seem completely designed around each other as well. And last but not least, we have probably the weakest pairing in the game, which is Ulquiorra and Sosuke Aizen, as far as meta, like how meta this pairing is. Like, I actually think that, or synergistic this pairing is, not meta, because I actually think that Yoruichi and Soifon are a better pairing than Ulquiorra and Sosuke Aizen. But of course, Aizen and Ulquiorra obviously do more damage. It's not about that. I'm talking about their synergistic pairing. If you're wondering why I don't put the supports in there, it's because supports are very general. The supports don't, if they're a good support, they typically don't take much field time anyway, and their rotations, their spots in the rotation are pretty clear. So, you know, I don't really consider them the pairing, but the sub DPS to DPS pairing is important, right? So why wouldn't I go for Nelliel? The reason is simply because this character is starting to age. Not in that she is bad, but she came in to help Gin at a time where Gin was being sort of put in position as the single strongest DPS in the game. The Thrust team is totally set around Gein's inability to really use field time. When you are playing Gein, you aren't really going into Lightning Thrust a ton, because you could just be spending that time swapping out into Nell, building up her battlefield skill, specifically her basic attack, instant conclusion, this lance execution, stuff like that. Or not lance execution, that's her resurrection, but instant conclusion, which switches into a counter attack, which swaps her back in and gets her these points. That way she can, you know, have all these points to go into her ultimate, so that she can use her, you know, lances and all of her enhanced specials, like her cleaving throw and things like that. All of this sort of compounds, right? We get that. Because all of this compounds, we know that she was made specifically to take up field time, while Mayuri and Gein play the back, which they do extremely well. I do not think True Shikai Ichigo is going to be made with Nelliel in mind, though I do think that we could see a little bit of a buff to Nelliel, because Nelliel and Ichigo do share a relationship on screen, right? I'm not saying they're getting married or anything. I'm just saying Ichigo and Nelliel are, you know, very friendly. You know what I mean? In the same way that like Rukia is his best friend, or, you know, is one of his friends. Nelliel is very, she has like a one-sided affection towards Ichigo, right? So I do think there is some amount of, okay, True Shikai Ichigo comes out, Nelliel is the sub DPS. She's not going to be optimal, but I do think she'll probably be changed in some, maybe she'll be changed in some way to work with him, because they do have an in-canon, friendship, essentially, a camaraderie. Same way that I think that any Ichigo later on, when an Orihime drops, there will probably be something at some point that like pairs them together, because for obvious, I mean, they're literally married, right, at the end of the series. So where he's got that whack ass dad haircut, though arguably, and you can argue this with me, Ichigo's glow up as a dad is much better than that Naruto whack ass haircut. What did they do to him? What did they do to Naruto's hair? Like, why did they do that? Because Sasuke's hair looks fine. It's like an older, like hermit-like version of his own haircut. They fucked Naruto's hair up. Do you know that? He went to the barber and said, fuck my shit up bad. I'm off topic. I'm completely off topic, but Nelliel and Ichigo obviously share an on-screen relationship, and in the page relationship, a friendship. So I do think that there could be a chance that Nelliel does receive some kind of like synergistic buff with just True Shikai Ichigo, but we could just as well see that not come to pass. The fact that we've only seen that Mayuri is returning so far has been the only confirmation, means that this might not happen, or probably will not happen, which means you should probably just make use with Tosin for now. Tosin is great. Tosin doesn't take much time on field. And will you do less damage overall? Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll eventually get a tactic DPS, like, probably pretty soon. Like, I think we're going to get one in this celebration, and that'll lead us to our next point, which is, let's go over there. Let me pause. So here we go. According to rumors, the next 2 units after Ichigo and Yuyu will be women. Which of the 2 IBW women cast do you think it could be, and what typing? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save this image. By the way, shout outs to J1520. I don't know if they compiled this image or if they just found this image, but it's a good reference point, right? So we will take this character, or this sheet, and let's just do little strike throughs on who we think could be and who it could not be. So let me pause again so I can set that up. And we are back proper. So who do I think is coming down the pipeline? So less hype than Bankai Rukia. That's that girl right there. So what we're going to do right there is we're going to X her out, because we know if they're saying less hype than Bankai Rukia, then certainly it can't be Bankai Rukia, right? We have to imagine who is more hyped than Bankai Rukia. I'd say I don't think Yunohana could ever show up here not with her Bankai. Okay, so there's no way this character shows up. More hyped than Bankai Rukia, I don't think Yoruichi could ever show up here, right? Like, there's just like no feasible way this character appears. I don't think so. Also, there's no way they really make this not a tactics or DPS character. So in the way of this Yoruichi, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. So, who is more hype? Now, I would say that all of the Squad Zero people are kind of out. So I would say until we get other Squad Zero characters, I would have a hard time believing that they are going to appear in any way, though I would love this character to show up. I actually think this is like the coolest. I know people really like Senjumaru, but I think she's so cool. She has a really cool gimmick of like restorative. I think she'd make a great support, but I just don't think it's happening. So we're starting to thin down the way. Who are some characters that we think are less hype that could appear? Let's start with that. So I would say that she is probably not going to show up. Whoops. She is probably not going to show up. Not going to show up. This character obviously could. And then these two, I would say this is like Thing 1 and 2, are the ones that people are suspecting most likely, which would be a tactics, like a thrust tactics character to help out Ichigo. The Bambis are just sort of the ones that people are, deciding upon. One other character that could show up that would be like, when else would you really put her in the game is her right there, thrust tactics character, right? Would make a lot of sense with the team. So let's get them off. Let's say that we'll just put like a check mark of could show up, right? Or let me see. Like let's circle them, right? Circle. I think a circle is oh my god. I'm getting absolutely gapped by my ability to draw a circle. Completely and totally gapped. Who else will I think will not show up? I would say that Soifon is kind of out. We got a recent Soifon. I do not think they're going to go back to that well. Nemu versus Nanao. I believe that's her name. Am I forgetting? That's her name, right? Still with no... I mean, we have characters that are not in the game. If you know. Not to say much, but we have characters that are not in the game that you would imagine this character would need to see first to be in the game. So I'm going to say for now that I just don't see it. While we're over here, I'm going to say... I could see this, honestly. I mean, why not? There's another character in the game right around that time, though, that I would expect to show up in some regard before we saw this character return. But, could be a strike support, limited SSR. But for now, I'm going to say probably not. This is the big one right here. I think this is the big character that I kind of didn't consider for a while. And I think would make a great limited SSR support is getting a limited Yachiru. I mean, Kenpachi is obviously in the game. That Kenpachi is not in the game, but I do think adding her in as a limited SSR support fits the criteria of not quite being as hype as Bankai Rukia, while also being very believable. Her model is also already in the game, so at least to some degree, they do have, reference points to build an easy character. Because I imagine with all of this stuff, like, if you have to build, like, we have to make a completely new Unohana, and we have to make a completely new Senjumaru, and we have to make a completely new, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably harder than them just, like, using a character they already have access to. The other ones I would say are the Tres Bestias. I've talked about this before, and during the podcast, this was sort of my pick. Was that this would be a very like low hype, but very cool strike support, right? Like strike support looks good here for them. I would say so. I don't know like how everyone else is feeling, but I think a strike support Tres Bestias would be super cool, super good looking like characters. The whole like Manticore, like Chimera Ultimate sort of thing would be so sick. Like their dad, whatever you want to call it, like the monster. I don't know. Super cool looking. 3 great designs. Don't have to be on field a ton. You could have like she does the basic attacking. She does like the support, like the technique, and she does you know what it could be? She does the basic attacking. She does like the technique, and she does like the empowered ability. So like the empowered technique, the empowered special attack, the blah blah blah, and then they all link up for a big ultimate, right? Who else? So I'm gonna say that for now, I'm gonna say there's a question mark, or there's a question mark. Oh my god, right there, because I actually kind of don't think it's her. Orihime is the other one that everyone is thinking about currently. Strike support Orihime has been the, you know, whisper my name but don't say it too loud, because you gotta come here and you know I pop out. She has been lurking around quite a bit in these talks. I would say that she is like a pretty up there. Less hype than Bankai Rukia though. Orihime is a big ticket seller. I would usually say. I would not describe Orihime as less hype than Bankai Rukia, just because it is worth mentioning that I was watching an Aaron video the other day. It was one of his most recent videos of BBS, and he was doing it on an Orihime swimsuit character. You know what I mean? Like that character who apparently, I didn't know this, has 3 swimsuits. Like she's been added into the game 3 times in a swimsuit. I don't think games do that unless they think you sell, right? And I know that could be like, oh well, you know, it's a swimsuit character, but like, I don't think you get there without being some amount popular. Again, I'm not the waifu, you know, I'll be honest, I'm not really the waifu guy. I think, you know, cute characters are great, you know. I like seeing cute girls and hot guys in my manga and anime and my video games and stuff. I like Final Fantasy 16 because Clive and Jill are super cool looking, super hot, both of them super hot. But like, as far as like, I want to see this purely because they're hot, it's for me, I've always said it's more about them being cool. I do think Orihime is cool. I don't think that, like, I think she gets a lot of flack. She gets a lot of flack for the same reason that Sakura in Naruto gets a lot of flack, which is filler killed her kills Sakura's character, and I think a lot of people assume the same of her, but she's actually like insanely useful. Nemu though, so I just want to say like a question mark here again, because I do think she's like she might be a little too hype, weirdly enough. And last but not least, Nemu. I would say that this character is due for something. I think she could be it. Again, another example of a character who is hype enough, also more importantly has a model in the game. Because let's think about this. They had to make a new Yuryu model, assumedly. They had to make a new Trushikai Ichigo model, assumedly. And so these next 2 characters who are also less hype, it would kind of make sense if they went with something that they did not have to spend a lot of dev time on. Okay? So that is just me, personally. But yeah, this is going to be my look around. So I would say that if Nemu joins the game, she's obviously would be the strike support. I hope to some degree they keep her identity as sort of a damage dealing support. So maybe if you get, like, kind of like Xayah Lapido, where if you get enough Xayah Lapido dupes, he'll do damage. But it would be cool to see her be like a little bit of a damage support, like an actual damage dealing support. I think that's kind of sick. Bambi and the Bambalettes, or Bambietta and the Bambalettes. I think these are probably like 1 and 2 respectively. But I don't know. I feel like both of these characters feel more like damage dealers, and I feel like we're gonna get at least 1 support in this bunch. But we'll see. We'll see. I've been lone though. You know me. It's been 24 minutes of me just talking. Oh my god, this guy loves to talk. He loves to talk. So let me get out of here. I've been lone. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the club. We'll go make it, and peace.